Clan Imperial Games, the studio behind Star Citizen, has declared 2025 the year of playability for the project. The goal is to reinforce the core systems laid down in recent years, most notably the long-awaited server meshing, so they can eventually open the floodgates to the content that's been promised for so long. However, a growing number of backers are expressing frustration and disappointment. This discontentment is increasingly visible on Spectrum and more personally in the comment section of my recent videos. And to be honest, many of these concerns aren't without merit. So today, let's take a closer look at these grievances and explore what Clan Imperial Games could realistically do to address them. One of the most common grievances I've come across lately is that the game feels boring. For many, what Clan Imperial Games calls the year of stability is starting to feel more like the year of boredom. And while I personally still enjoy my time in Star Citizen, I can understand where that sentiment comes from, because I feel it too, particularly when it comes to the game's overall progression. One of the most exciting aspects of following Star Citizen has always been watching it evolve, seeing new features get added to the persistent universe, and witnessing the long-term vision for Star Citizen version 1.0 slowly come together. But this year, that sense of momentum just isn't there. Apart from the introduction of Dynamic Rain, we haven't seen any major feature additions. None of the long-promised mechanics, dynamic scanning, engineering, fire propagation, or actor status V2 have made it into the game so far. It's been a rather lackluster year in terms of innovation, to say the least. Yes, we've had some dynamic events and sandbox activities, but they often feel more like temporary theme park attractions than meaningful integrated gameplay loops. They tend to either lack a clear sense of purpose or push players into gameplay styles that they are not necessarily interested in. And that brings us to the next major issue: the ongoing imbalance between PvP and PvE content. Of course, we all know that in the end, Star Citizen is a PvA game, player versus all. In theory, as you play the game, you should be able to encounter both players and NPCs, and ideally, they should be indistinguishable from one another. This is why player names have been removed, and we now only see ship identification numbers before scanning. That being said, there are various types of players who enjoy Star Citizen, and they play it in very different ways. PvE players, players versus environment, enjoy tackling the challenges posed by the game world. These would be your miners, explorers, traders, or even players grinding Foxwell or bunker missions. These players aren't necessarily interested in fighting other players, they simply want to do their own thing, possibly cooperating with others if the opportunity arises. Then there are the PvPers, player versus player, your pirates, player bounty hunters, and of course the occasional murder hobo or griefer. These players believe that if you are in the verse, you are a valid target because the game allows for it. They enjoy the challenge of beating other players, sometimes through fair and organized combat, and sometimes just for their own entertainment, often at the expense of those caught off guard. Last but not least, we have the PvA players, who enjoy both playstyles, and it's precisely because the Star Citizen community is so diverse that it becomes almost impossible for Clan Imperial Games to satisfy everyone at the same time. Create an event that leads into PvP dominance, like Align and Mine, and PvE players will complain that CIG isn't taking their playstyle into account. Then design a cargo hauling event where players must transport goods from point A to B, and some other group will feel left out. Even when an activity focuses on cooperation and exploration, there will always be players who see it as an opportunity to ambush others at bottlenecks. It sometimes feels like whatever CIG does, they can't win, and at the heart of all of this, I believe, lies one thing: boredom. These events are punctual. They feel fresh the first time you play them, but once you've done them about 10 times, they become repetitive and predictable. And this, I think, is where CIG is making a mistake, because most of the best gameplay loops that we've seen in Star Citizen have been organically created by players within the sandbox CIG has given us, like the original Jumptown, for example. CIG needs to let players shape their own adventures and create their own content using the systems and environments already in place. That's when Star Citizen truly shines. It's those unscripted adventures, those unexpected twists that leave the strongest impressions in the community because they are always unique. Some of my best memories in Star Citizen have come from those spontaneous moments, teaming up with the Irad Club, wondering what we might do, choosing something like mining or salvaging cargo from a soft dev bounty target, only to get ambushed by another group just as we were heading to sell the loot. CIG didn't create a mission for this. There were no special events. It was just a group of players using the sandbox tools at their disposal, running into another group doing exactly the same thing, and that natural collision created something memorable. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the direction the game has taken this year. Instead, CIG seems to be pushing for experiences that resemble traditional game content, structured, instanced, repeatable, rather than embracing the unpredictable player-driven stories that make Star Citizen truly stand apart. And for many, that shift doesn't seem to align with what they fell in love with this universe in the first place. Last, I think that the final nail in the coffin of the year of playability is the ongoing cheating crisis. And while I am personally glad that this is happening now and not after version 1.0 comes out because it gives CIG a chance to build protocols to counter this phenomenon, it's also a factor that discourages players from playing. No one wants to invest time only to then die out of the blue and unfairly lose inventory gear. And especially, no one enjoys playing a game knowing that there are people out there who are using hacks that could ruin their gameplay in an instant. It's a situation that CIG needs to resolve as soon as possible, and while they are taking actions, it's still a phenomenon that's happening to this day, and it's tarnishing the reputation of the game. As I said, it's unfortunate, but in my eyes, a necessary evil that may contribute to making the game future-proof. At the end of the day, I still believe in Star Citizen and in the vision that Clan Imperial Games is trying to bring to life, but I also think it's important to be honest about where things stand. The year of playability was meant to be a time to reinforce the game's foundations, and in some way it is, but for many players it's also become a year of stagnation and disappointment. So I'd like to hear from you. How are you feeling about Star Citizen in 2025? Are you still logging in and enjoying your time, or are you taking a step back and waiting for things to improve? Are these concerns valid in your eyes, or do you see them differently? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please consider leaving a like. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers. Thank you so much for watching. A premium video like this one takes a lot of time and effort to record and edit, and I am aware that you'd like to see more of these as much as I'd like to produce more as well. This is why I rely on YouTube and Patreon members as well as Twitch subscribers to keep the lights on and help me become one day a full-time content creator. The closer you help me achieve this goal, the more I can do for you. Together, we've already accomplished so much, and I cannot thank you enough for your support. You are making all of this possible.